Black history originated in 1926 when Carter G. Woodson and the Association for Study of African American Life and History established Negro History Week. This week was chosen to coincide with the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass, two figures who played a role in shaping Black freedom and equality. Over time, this week evolved into a month-long celebration officially recognized in 1976. This month is a time to honor the achievements, contributions, and resilience of African Americans throughout history, contributions that have often been overlooked and marginalized. It's also an opportunity to reflect on the ongoing struggle for racial justice and to celebrate the rich cultural heritage that have shaped our nation and the world. Today, as we dive into our discussion, we'll explore Black excellence, keeping in the mind of the profound legacy and enduring impact of Black history. So let's celebrate, learn, and grow together. Thank you for being here. And on that note, I'll pass the floor to our keynote speaker.
Thank you. One moment while I share my screen. Just want to make sure everyone can see this and it's moving.
Yes.
Perfect. So good morning, good afternoon, everyone. It's truly an honor to be here with you all today, especially during Black History Month. I want to thank the Sigma Lambda Gamma National Sorority, Inc. for inviting me to speak on such a significant occasion. My name is Martika Brianne Jones. I'm the founder and CEO of Boop, an AI-powered networking platform designed to help professionals and businesses build meaningful connections. Today, I want to share a story, my story, but it's not just about me. It's about the legacy we inherit and the challenges we overcome and the future we create. The theme, celebrating Black excellence, honoring the past, empowering the future, resonates deeply with me because it captures the duality of our journey. We carry the strength of our ancestors, their dreams, their struggles, and their triumphs. And with that strength, we forge a new path for those who will come after us. Today, I'll be sharing a bit about my personal journey, the role models who shaped me, and the challenges I've faced, and the lessons that I've learned along the way. I hope my story inspires you to honor your own path while empowering others. Together, we can find inspiration in the past to create a future of opportunity, equity, and lasting impact. When we talk about honoring the past, I can't help but think of the incredible role models in my own life who laid the foundation for everything I've accomplished. One of the most influential figures in my life is my grandfather, Frank Excel Marley Sr. His story is a testament to resilience, vision, and excellence, just like his middle name. These are qualities that we celebrate as the backbone of Black history. My grandfather was born on Ball Ground Plantation in Mississippi. Despite the systemic racial barriers and lack of opportunity, he rose to become the valedictorian of his high school, and he earned scholarships to attend HBCUs like Alcorn State University and Jackson State University. His thirst for knowledge and determination to succeed propelled him forward. He served as a supply sergeant in World War II. He got to travel the world, and eventually he returned to Mississippi to dedicate 30 years of his life to education. He didn't stop there. He also became an entrepreneur, owning his own store that he called Frank's Store. His life's work was centered on service, excellence, and creating opportunities for others. My grandfather's legacy taught me that excellence isn't about perfection. It's about perseverance. It's about showing up, working hard, and making an impact wherever you can. His entrepreneurial spirit has inspired everything that I've done, from launching my first startup to building Boot. He reminded me that success is not just personal, it's communal. It's about creating opportunities for others to thrive. When we honor role models like my grandfather, we honor the spirit of Black excellence that propels us all forward. I grew up in Vicksburg, Mississippi, surrounded by a rich history, but also aware of the challenges that we faced. My journey has been anything but linear, but every twist and turn has shaped who I am today. At just 12 years old, I picked up the trombone and began a 13-year career as a classically trained trombonist. Music became my world. It taught me discipline, it taught me focus, and it taught me resilience. I studied under world-renowned musicians, competed at the highest levels, and won scholarships. But performing in orchestras in New Jersey and New York, I often found myself as one of the few, if not the only Black women in the room. But that taught me something powerful, that representation does matter. I believe that simply being present in those spaces was a testament of representation and resilience. Music was my first love, but as much as I loved it, there came a point when I realized I wanted to do more, to impact people's lives in a different way. And while still pursuing my degree at Montclair State University in New Jersey, I decided to pursue dreams in New York City, believing it to be a place where success stories are written. But as many of you know, the city life can be brutal, and the term starving artist is very real. And balancing odd jobs and long hours just to make ends meet was extremely exhausting. I struggled with self-doubt, feeling like I was failing horribly because I wasn't where I thought I should be. Mind you, I was only 22. I had put in years of sweat and tears, but I feared that if I didn't secure my dream job immediately, it would never happen. That's when my mentor, Colin Williams, who is the associate principal trombonist of the New York Philharmonic, asked me a simple yet profound question. Why are you rushing? He shared that he didn't get his dream job until his mid-30s, and many of his Juilliard colleagues had pursued entirely different careers, often making more money than him. His point was clear. It was okay to take a break after graduating, explore new opportunities, and discover different passions. That conversation changed my entire perspective and ultimately gave me permission to pivot into entrepreneurship. Through that realization, I gained a deeper understanding of resilience, creativity, and adaptability. And these qualities shaped my journey moving forward. In 2018, I moved to Tampa with my boyfriend, now husband. And the following year, I enrolled in the Master of Science in Entrepreneurship program at the University of Tampa, where I learned how to take an idea and turn it into a business. My first company was born during that time, a bold concept that seemed full of promise. However, like many startups, and you've seen the stats, we encountered significant challenges, particularly in co-founder alignment. I brought on a CTO with impressive credentials, including a successful exit, believing that experience alone would ensure success. But what I learned was that passion and endurance are just as critical as expertise. Over time, it became clear that we had different visions and levels of commitment to the startup journey. This misalignment led to difficult conversations and ultimately the painful decision to dissolve the company. It was not a choice that I made lightly. At the time, we had interns, growing press attention, and customers relying on us. I felt like I was steering a sinking ship, and I had to decide when to abandon it. I made sure that our team, of course, had closure before making the call, ensuring that our interns had completed their commitments before we officially shut down. But as devastating as that was, there was a silver lining. Boot. We had already begun ideating Boot before dissolving the first company. And amidst that transition, I actually won a pitch competition. And that prize money allowed us to fund the trademarking and legal formation of Boop. And what happened next was a testament to the power of resilience. Most people don't believe it, but within just 2 weeks, we found a solution to rebuild a better version of the platform. And we refined how our technology worked, strengthened our vision, and even won back some of the former users who believed in our new direction. That experience proved one undeniable truth, that a scrappy team with drive and dedication will always outperform experience alone. This principle has shaped everything that we do at Boop, reinforcing the idea that passion, adaptability, and unwavering commitment are the real keys to success in entrepreneurship. But let me be honest, being a Black woman in tech isn't easy. Tech is a male-dominated industry, as we all know, and as a woman, and a Black woman at that, you often find yourself having to prove your worth over and over again. There were times when I walked into rooms and I could just feel the doubt in the air. But I've learned to turn those moments into fuel. Every time I faced skepticism, I reminded myself that I belong in those spaces, not because someone invited me, but because I earned my place. One of the biggest challenges that I faced was finding support and resources to bring my vision to life. That's where mentorship and community came in. I've been fortunate to have incredible mentors in my life, both men and women, who believed in me and opened doors when others wouldn't. They taught me that resilience and persistence are key, but so is having a network of people who will champion you. While I was in the MS Entrepreneurship Program, I was tasked with finding a mentor or an advisor through the Entrepreneur in Residence program. That's how I met Mike Puma, who was then the CMO, but is now the president of Century 21 Beggins Enterprises, the largest and highest ranking Century 21 brokerage in Florida. Mike has been with us through the highs and lows of our startups, and he's even become one of our first enterprise customers for Boop. Dr. Rebecca White of the Loth Entrepreneurship Center at the University of Tampa has been a champion of our company from day one. She has continually supported and featured us, and eventually the Entrepreneurship Center became a customer of Boop as well. These experiences reinforce the power of mentorship and networking. And it doesn't stop there. I now have over 6 advisors, each specializing in different areas and bringing unique networks and expertise. They not only guide me, but also connect me with the right people at the right time. These mentors have been instrumental in shaping my entrepreneurial journey. One of the greatest lessons I've learned is that you can't do it all alone. In entrepreneurship, you have strengths and you have weaknesses. And the key to success is to surround yourself with people who complement those strengths and fill in the gaps where you may lack expertise. So how do you find these people? You network. The phrase network is your net worth it couldn't be more than accurate. I encourage all of you to begin building your network now. And if you don't have a mentor, start searching for one today. And it doesn't have to just be for entrepreneurship, it's for life in general. Seek out people who inspire you, challenge you, and push you to grow. These relationships will be the foundation of your success. Entrepreneurship and life doesn't have to be a solo journey. The most successful entrepreneurs are those who build strong networks, seek guidance, and remain open to learning from those who have walked the path before them. A little bit about Boop. It was born from a desire to make networking more meaningful and efficient. It's an AI-driven platform that helps professionals and sales teams build strong relationships to close more deals. But more than that, it's a tool to level the playing field, to give everyone, regardless of background, the ability to connect and thrive. In many ways, it's a reflection of the values my grandfather lived by, creating opportunities for others to succeed. Building Boop has been about breaking barriers and redefining what's possible for Black women in technology. As I look to the future, I think about the importance of lifting as we climb. My grandfather's story reminds me that success isn't just about what you achieve, it's about what you do for others. At Boop, we're committed to not just building a successful company, but also creating opportunities for the next generation of entrepreneurs, especially women of color. One of the ways we're doing that is by mentoring young entrepreneurs and investing in communities that are often overlooked. But it's not just about what we're doing, it's about what all of us can do. Each of you has the power to make a difference, whether it's through mentorship, advocacy, or simply being a role model. Representation matters. And when young people see someone who looks like them achieving greatness, it opens their minds to what's possible. Imagine a future where everyone has the opportunity to thrive, regardless of where they come from. That's the future that we're building together. Before I close, I want to share a few lessons that I've learned along the way. Embrace the nonlinear path. Life really goes as planned, and that's okay. Every twist and turn is an opportunity to learn and grow. Build your network. Surround yourself with people who inspire you, challenge you, and support you. Your network is one of your greatest assets. Turn challenges into opportunities. Every setback is a setup for a comeback. Let me repeat that. Every setback is a setup for a comeback. Use your challenges as fuel to propel you forward. Lift as you climb. Success is sweeter when you bring others with you. Be a mentor, an advocate, and a champion for those coming behind you. Celebrate progress, not just perfection. Every small win matters. Take time to acknowledge your journey and the milestones along the way. And finally, stay grounded in your why. Remember the purpose behind your work. Your why will guide you through the highs and the lows. As we celebrate Black History Month, let's remember that we are the bridge between the dreams of our ancestors and the realities of tomorrow. We have the power to honor the past by building a future that reflects the excellence, resilience, and brilliance of our community. Together, we can create opportunities, foster innovation, and build a legacy that empowers generations to come. Thank you for allowing me to share my story. Let's continue to celebrate Black excellence, lift each other up, and create a legacy that will inspire generations to come. Together, we can honor the past while building a brighter future. Thank you.
Thank you. That was very inspiring. Goosebumps, made me want to cry. As people are typing the chat, do we have any questions for her? Can you see the chat, Martika?
Yes, I can see
Okay.
you. It's a lot of thank yous. You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
We have a question. What are some of the questions you asked to identify a mentor?
So I would say questions in general, first is, to ask yourself is what are you trying to achieve, right? I think that's one of the biggest things. You don't want to just go find somebody that you see is successful and be like, oh, hey, be my mentor, and not know what the ask is for them. So I would say the question for yourself would be, what am I trying to achieve? What is it that I'm lacking? What are my goals? And then who can actually help me achieve those goals? So when and LinkedIn is a very beautiful thing. I remember when I first discovered it, at first I was like, I wasn't sure about it. But now it's literally like at midnight, the first thing I'm scrolling is LinkedIn, not Instagram, which is really weird. That's a really weird thing for me. But that's a great place to source mentors, because if you have already started building connection, then you can see who your connections are connected with. And maybe it's the person that you're looking for, you feel like could be that person. But I would just say first ask questions to yourself, because if you don't have the goals and you don't know what you're looking for, then it's going to be very hard to find that person. But then when you find them, of course, start developing, those burning questions that you're wanting to ask, because it's different for everybody.
How did you maintain your relationship with your mentor?
So every mentor is different. I would say when you build that relationship, to kind of figure out what is their capacity. because they could also be mentors for other people. So setting time frames on which you're going to actually like have calls with them. They could be an anytime person. I have mentors that are like, you can call me anytime in the middle of the night when you're crying. But you have to know the boundaries too, right? And then I have mentors that are just like, let's say for sales, I have like after this call, I have a sales call with one of my advisors, and that's literally his specialty. So every Saturday, we call it like afternoon coffee, with my mentor. And we strategize and set myself up for the next week. And so I have the anytime, I have the Saturday, and then sometimes I have a monthly or quarterly because I have 6 advisors and they all have different time frames. But a true mentor that is just trying to help you through life, a lot of times they're very much so anytime, but set those boundaries up front. And I feel like that's how I've been able to maintain the relationships and not make anybody upset or anything.
We have another question. What's next for you, or what is going to be your focus this year?
Oh man, that's a great question because that's kind of what we're sussing out right now. Um, with Boop, we found that events for us in the past have been very successful. Like last year, we actually got to Power Synapse Summit and over 4,000 attendees utilized our platform. And so we've been pushing and kind of doubling down on the event and conference industry so that we can start powering other conferences in different states. So we're looking to expand in that area. And we're also piloting to enterprise, but still focusing on individual small businesses, but definitely starting to expand more in those other industries. So I would say that that's our focus for this year's events and enterprise clients. And then for our nonprofit, we're looking for our summer business cohort to start as well. So we're currently fundraising for that.
Being a Black woman in STEM, how did you face challenges that you encountered?
So first of all, I would say a lot of the challenges that we face comes from mindset as well, because we can be our biggest supporters, but we can also be our own worst enemy. And so I like to get myself kind of like pumped before I have to go into a meeting or a sales call. We're all talking about favorite music here today. So picking your favorite song is going to get you pumped up. And I would say just being like, hey, I deserve this. I've earned this. Kind of like talking to myself before actually going into those rooms, because I work very hard. And I come from an industry, the music industry, where you rarely get a good job or well done. It's always like, you didn't miss that note, or do better next time. And so coming from that world and then not to be a perfectionist, I've actually had entrepreneurship taught me and to unlearn those bad habits. Now I'm more like, hey, celebrate the small wins, change my mindset. I've earned this. What you've done, and just build up that confidence. So I would start with the mentality first. And then I feel like the confidence comes afterwards when you're like dealing and navigating with stuff. And then just if people make side comments, I kind of just like brush that off because I feel like sometimes some of the interactions I've had, people are looking for a reaction, but I just try not to let those things bother me. Like I'm very like non-reactive. A couple of one book I would definitely suggest for everybody is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. It teaches you about negotiating skills and essentially how to get whatever you want. And he's a hostage negotiator, so he gets what he wants. And so I would definitely suggest that book for everybody when it comes to kind of like proving your worth and doing negotiations and things like that.
How do you know if you choose the correct mentor, and have you had a bad experience with one? How did you handle it?
Oh man. Um, I feel like it is kind of like a vibe thing at first where you're just like, yeah, I feel like I've chosen the one, but I have had times where it seemed like the vibe was right in the beginning, but then the work effort wasn't good later on. So, I mean, how you would navigate that is it takes time because in the beginning, you're not going to know like if that person's going to do what they say they're going to do. And I've had a mentor or two that has come on just to kind of like attach themselves to our clout and not really do anything or be like, oh, I'm a part of Boop, or, like I'm going to be their VP of sales, or they make it sound like they're a co-founder, or like just all types of wild things that I've experienced. And you just have to have that hard conversation with them and just be like, hey, look, you can't, you can't do this or say these things. Like none of this is legally binding, or this is affecting our brand as a whole. And just kind of give them like, you either got to get with it or you got to go. It's just one of those executive decisions that you have to make. And you're going to make bad decisions in the beginning. Like, just from you guys hearing my story, I've made some bad decisions where it seemed like the vibe was right. And then I spent a year and a half being like, things are going to get better, things are going to get better. And they did not get better with my co founder. And I wasted a whole year and a half. And the moment I let him go, in 2 weeks, we were already off to the races. So you just kind of have to give it time, but you'll know if it's off.
Kind of a follow-up to that, what are some signs that the mentor relationship isn't fruitful or needs to end?
I would say if they're not producing results, because at the end of the day, you got that mentor for a reason. Like you're looking for outputs, you're looking for results. So the whole deal is to be a results driven person, right? That's how a lot of startups are. We're very results driven. Like we don't care how you get there. It's just like you get there or this got done, right? Because our team is very ad hoc. So it's more like you give me this and we'll make it work, and then we're gonna make sure that it happens by this deadline. So you're gonna know that it's not gonna work and that they need to go based on the goals that you set in the beginning and if those outcomes are actually happening at the time frame that you need them to happen. And you just have to make sure that's very clear in the beginning. If it's not clear, then you may let some things slide for far too long. So it's again going back to setting those boundaries.
What are your expectations of a mentor?
Well, my expectations would be one, they need to be a good listener, right? Because that's the whole part. Two, they need to have some lived experience. Doesn't necessarily have to be in like entrepreneurship or my field, because they could just like have gone through life and they know interpersonal skills, because I have a mentor that kind of helps me with that. And again, like reading books and all that stuff, and like how to navigate interpersonal skills, because sometimes as I've been in the startup, I went from being like super emotional to like super robotic, and then having to come back and navigate building a team and different personalities. And so there are some people that are just really good at that. So yeah, I would say they have to be a good listener. They have to have some lived experience that is valuable to you. I mean, they in a sense need to have a servant's heart. They don't need to just constantly want from you or anything like that. So you just have to be able to navigate those things. And they just have to be passionate about what you do, because if they're not passionate about what you do or you, because a lot of time mentors, they don't really care about like what you're doing, more like they're invested in the person. So I would say that they need to truly be invested in you, and you'll feel that like right off the bat.
We have like four more questions. One of them is, what was the hardest part of starting your own business and knowing you wanted to do that for yourself?
I mean, I would say the hardest part was getting from 0 to 1. And that's why I felt like, because I knew when I first moved to Tampa that it's something weird happens here in Tampa where like you just get some type of like startup bug or something. Like, I don't know, I moved here and all of a sudden I was like, yes, I know what I want to do for the rest of my life. And it's entrepreneurship was like one of the hardest things. Um, when I got here, I knew that I wanted to own my own business. I didn't know what form that would take, how that would manifest. And I felt like in that initial stage, it was getting from 0 to 1. So I'm very thankful for the University of Tampa, and shout out to all the U Tampa alum, because there's a lot in here. That they had programming, which by the way, entrepreneurship programs are very rare. They're starting to pop up now, but they were not there before. And is almost like a 1 year condensed Shark Tank where they took you from ideation to implementation in 12 months, which is pretty rapid, I would say. But they helped me through every single segment. And every week you had to have deliverables and results. So it wasn't theory, it was all practical. And I felt like having that structure, which there are organizations and there are accelerators and incubators that can help you do this as well. So you don't feel like you have to go through college program. But I can tell you that this particular one was just like, hey, you need to do this. You need to go talk to 100 people and figure out if your product is great or if it's shitty. And then, move on and go and, keep going down the line until you start are able to talk to investors and raise money. So I would say that structure, getting from 0 to 1, was the crucial part, because like 90% of people who have businesses or, have created a startup, they have just built out the name and all this stuff. But getting to 1 is the hardest part. And that's why, since I felt that and I've lived that, that's why we're giving back to the community, because a lot of people have ideas, but they don't know how to get it to that next level where they can actually start generating revenue.
Do you have any tips on how to reconcile the pressures of achieving Black excellence with self-worth and life satisfaction?
Reconcile. So, I mean, here are the tips that I would give. And while it feels like it's a lot of pressure, like the pressure of, achieving Black excellence, and I would say at the end of the day, you do you, because you don't want to have to feel the pressure of like, oh, I want to do this for, be like my grandfather, because even though I'm very proud of everything my grandfather did and inspired me, I let that inspire me. I didn't want to think of it as like a pressure that I need to be like him or do better. So I would just, again, the mindset, I would be inspired by our ancestors and our their past achievements, but don't feel so much pressure, because pressure is actually what's going to be the thing that kills the dreams. I just want to continuously, meditate, be inspired. So I suggest meditating, watching inspirational shows, reading inspirational books, just start building up that creativity, right? And then and positivity, anything that's positive, because we have a lot of negative stuff going on right now, but you want to just surround yourself with positive people. So I would also say a good way of achieving Black excellence is be around other Black excellence. And so start building that network of those successful people that you want to surround yourself with. Because I can tell you right now that my life has changed, being like, you only saw a handful of my mentors, but I have other mentors as well. And one, I want to give a shout out to Tarnisha Peters from the Black Business Investment Fund here in Tampa and Orlando. And she is absolutely phenomenal. She's like a sister to me. And she has taken me through like the highs and lows and has helped me achieve greater heights that I didn't think I could. But you need to start surrounding yourself with this excellence, because the moment I started spending time with her, and then other, especially like high net worth people, also make friends with high net worth people. They, trust me, they don't look down on you like the way that you think that they do. They actually want to mentor people and bring them up. Like, people want to see you win. And so when I started hanging out with those people, it was like everything just kind of lifted up. And I'm like, oh, I'm creating better habits and all this stuff. Like, I saw a post on Facebook that was just like, let's start talking about having friends that talk about building businesses, investing and creating generational wealth. You need to start hanging out with those people and the excellence will come.
Thank you. We have 2 more questions. It's kind of lengthy. How do you navigate constantly having your capabilities underestimated as a Black woman within the STEM field? Sometimes our skills and knowledge gets questioned or undermined a lot in certain settings, and it can be frustrating. So how do you keep that from demotivating you?
So I have, and I know not everybody has this, but I have a tendency to be extremely hard-headed. Like, but I feel like that's worked out in my favor. Coming from playing a trombone, which is not a woman's instrument, right? And being in low brass, usually being the only woman, especially only Black woman. And people like, that's not girly, that's not whatever, whatever they want to throw on me. And I've just always been like, I don't care. Like, I don't give a shit. So I think that personality and growing up that way, a lot of people they consider it negative, but it's actually worked out in my favor to just really like you should care, but it also have that air of like, I don't care. And when you kind of put that off, confidence, not cockiness, confidence and not arrogance. If you can balance that, it really will take you, to newer heights because yeah, there are people who have been trying to undermine me. I'm dealing with some stuff right now where I feel like people aren't taking me seriously, but I just make myself even, bigger than I am. I have these people that I surround myself with and a lot of ways that, a lot of things that you can do to actually prevent people from questioning you and all this stuff, again, is to have that champion, like that network of champions for you. Because a lot of times, if there's an entity or a person I'm trying to reach out to that I think may, be like, oh, like, who are you? I go and find someone who is connected to them and then focus on warm intros. And I can tell you right now, a lot of those doubts and a lot of those things go out of the window if people recommend you or you ask them, hey, would you mind giving me a warm intro to this person? And it's almost like the guards go completely down. So definitely there is value in kind of going to someone and to get to another person or to, even get that job that you're looking for. So I would start doing that. And I feel like you won't really even feel like a lot of that's happening.
Thank you. That's actually a really good point. When your trajectory seems to continue to face a bunch of roadblocks, either from things out of your control or people internally, who seem to continue to identify problems but no solutions, how have you been successful in sustaining on your path and manage burnout?
Where is that question located? Because I want to,
It's
is it like,
in the chat 1233 by Quinny.
okay, I see it. So there's a couple ways I can answer this, but I'll answer it from like my entrepreneurial perspective. So if you're constantly facing a bunch of roadblocks, you have to look at root cause, right? Like what is actually causing those roadblocks and then kind of navigate it from there. And you mentioned people internally who seem to continue to identify problems but no solutions. If you're talking about like in a corporate setting, then I mean a lot of times that's going to be difficult. From an entrepreneurial setting, if they're not bringing solutions to the table, then I mean you're going to have to make some decisions, right? When usually that comes with surrounding yourself with better people that are actually solution driven. And I feel like it's very difficult because we are sometimes in environments where we're constantly around negative people and all of that. And again, at that point, sometimes it's not about fixing them, but it's about working on yourself so that you're not affected by them and then being able to create a trajectory forward from there. I'm very good at blocking out the noise and being tunnel vision when it's necessary, and then listening to people who are actually giving me constructive criticism. And that's another thing, understanding if are the words that are coming out of this person's mouth actually constructive or are they, destructive, right? And I think being able to identify that is super, super huge so that you can know what points to take and what not to, right? But I think when it comes to sustaining my path, managing burnout, I focus on building my team. I've definitely felt I have definitely had several burnout sessions before where I'm just like, I don't know if I could do this, but that's just a road to entrepreneur. One day you feel like you can take on the world, and the next day you're like, oh my God, why did I do this to myself? Like, I hate my life. But having, again, mentors, a network you can call on, um, building out your team so that you can start delegating and not having to be the only one to stress on things like this. And there are people willing to do stuff for equity. And that's another thing. If any of my solo founders are in here who want to continue to have 100% of your company, I'm gonna need you to stop right now, stop that mindset because it is not worth it. You need to have a team that you can bring on that's willing to go through the trenches with you for free and do some sweat equity, and you're still going to get your payout at the end, and it's going to be huge. So stop wanting 100%. You're stressing yourself out. You're going to get gray hairs like me. I'm only 29. And now I'm realizing that having a team is worth everything, and giving away a little bit of equity is totally worth it. But yeah, I hope that answered the question.
Thank you so much for your wise words and your wonderful presentation. It was really inspiring. Um, Truly appreciate it. And I just want to say thank you. Can we give her a round of applause in the comments?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Moving forward, we will be moving forward with Felicia M. on breaking barriers, Black leadership in higher education.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Listen, I'm just gonna start this off. It's been a long day and I have practiced this numerous times. Might have a little couple of bumps in the road, but we are gonna get through on this Saturday, okay? Out. Thank you, especially to Kimmy for inviting me here today to share with you about being not just Black, but being a Black woman in higher education. It's a little rough, but it is an adventure and I love it. So, as we know, Kimmy said earlier, February is Black History Month, and it was officially designated Black History Month in 1976. Excuse me, even though it started out in 1926 as just Black History Week. So it definitely has grown and evolved. My father is a immigrant from Jamaica, and my mother is a Black American from Miami, Florida. So I have always felt like I've had the best of both worlds, being not just a Black American, but Jamaican American. Love it, love it. So I am currently a visiting assistant professor at the University of Tampa, my alma mater, and I am working on my doctorate degree in strategic leadership. My education journey to becoming a professor was not your traditional route of, oh, I want to be in education. Let me go get my degree in education. Let me get my master's, and then let me go teach. I did not have a linear route, just like Martika said earlier. It's not always as linear as you think it's going to be. I have actually 24 years of leadership experience, and my background, honestly, is really management. I got 14 years under my belt. So when I started in my education journey and got out there in the work world, I just knew I was going to be in corporate life. This is where I'm going. This is my life. And I was just going to climb the ladder. But what had happened was that beautiful thing called COVID, and I had to pivot. So started my master's degree in August of 2020. So background, I got my bachelor's in 2003. So I had a good time period because again, I didn't think I was going into education, but I always wanted my master's degree. So started the master's program in August of 2020 at the University of Tampa. And through consistent, I say encouragement, sometimes it felt like harassment, but it was all love from my mentor, my director, and my professors. I applied for my doctorate degree. A discussion always came up, honestly, like once a week. Oh, you should teach. And I said, I'm not going to pay any mind to that because I'm not trying to teach. I'm staying in corporate. Little did I know, God was about to shift my foundation and I was going to pivot into education if I wanted to or not. I, not just I, my entire team and department got laid off. So my mentors, professors, directors were in my email calling me and they said, well, it seems like it's a good time for you to teach. Oh, okay. Because again, little did I know, 2 months prior to me being laid off, I had colleagues ask me to come in and be a guest speaker on what it was like earning my master's degree and just the nonlinear way I started my education journey and where I ended, you never know when your name is going to be brought up in rooms that you don't have any privy to. And that's exactly what happened, because they get in my email and they say, hey, we need you to come to this communication conference. Okay, cool. Let me pay my monies. Let me go to Orlando. I'm at the conference and they literally surround me and I am voluntold, you are going to not only apply for your doctorate degree, but you are going to teach. Oh, you see something in me that I don't think I see teaching. And they said, well, that's what you're going to do. So I literally was voluntold to start my doctorate and start teaching. And I said, I don't have anything to lose. I literally just lost my job. What else do I have to do in life? And luckily, it's college kids because I have friends in the education field. K through 12, definitely not my territory. So I said, okay, let's try this college student thing out. Listen, from the moment I stepped into my first classroom, I said, oh, this is me. This is my purpose. This is where I'm supposed to be at. Oh my God, what took me so long to get here? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. But it took me, a decade and some years to get into education. But one of the things I learned from my very first mentor in management, he was Puerto Rican and Brazilian. His name was Cheeto. Loved him. And I understood from him, if you ever hear someone say there's a difference between a leader and a boss, he was definitely a leader. And I met him back in 2010, and I have held on to the principles that he has taught me since then. And I have always paid attention to and given more attention and time to my Black and Brown students and my Black and Brown associates because, again, Martika, she was dropping in there. She said it earlier, you want to be able to pull someone up with you when you go. And that's what Cheeto had taught me. I'm training you to take my position because I'm not trying to stay here. So when I move, you move. So that was always my mentality of when I move, you move. Especially if it's somebody that looks like me, cousins, whoever. Listen, I'm going to help you, help me, help you. So when I move, you're going to move. And I always took that lesson with me. And that is actually how I teach. I'm moving, so I need you to move. You came into education. Okay, how can I help you professionally and personally to move? Because that's my job. That is my purpose. And outside of my family, Cheeto and my other mentors along the way taught me that it was okay to be my authentic self. And I need to take up all the space, all of it. Never cower to anyone as to who you are. Be authentic and take up the space. So I said, that's what I'm going to do. And here we are. I never needed my master's degree because, again, I was staying in corporate, right? I didn't need my master's degree. I didn't need my doctorate degree, but I had a desire to obtain them. Didn't know why until now. The only reason I became a professor, well, not the only reason, but to become a professor, you need your master's, and I got it. But to become an exceptional leader in education, I needed to pursue my doctorate, and that's where I'm at today. I know I'm not where I am if it weren't for God making a way for me, but also those people that paved the way before me. I I had Black and Brown teachers in elementary school. I can count on one hand. I had four from kindergarten to high school. I had four. I had three Blacks and one Hispanic teacher. I get to college. I had my first Black professor, and then I had my first Hispanic professor. She was from Argentina. She was amazing. I took her for 2 semesters in a row because I need this lady. I realized I gravitated towards my Black and Brown professors, one, because they look like me, and two, they have a completely different perspective and outlook on life especially how they teach. And I said, I want that. I want what you have. So, as a double minority, I'm a Black female with an invisible disability. I know I am a walking billboard of diversity, equity, inclusion. I educate all of my students the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion because that's the world that we reside in. It's just not going to sprinkle itself underneath the rug or hide underneath on the ocean floor. This is the world we live in, and you need to be your authentic self and take up all the space. And to never beg for a seat at the table because your gift will always make room for you. That table's not serving what you need, get up from the table and go to another. Even if that means you have your own table and you walk around with your own table, be your authentic self, take up space, and don't beg for a seat at the table. So I always encourage and empower my students, both professionally and personally, to do that. Be who you are and acknowledge where you come from because nobody can take that from you. So I know I'm standing on the shoulders of those that stood before me, and I pray that the impact and the legacy that I leave, especially for my Black and Brown students, it's for all my students, but really for my Black and Brown students, it allows them to stand just as tall. Because, like I said, when I move, they move. So I'm standing tall. Maybe I need you to stand tall with me. And remember to bring somebody with you. You know, last month we celebrated Dr. Martin Luther King, and I went through so many quotes, so many resonated with me. But when Kimmy reached out to me, I said, let me go back through my repertoire of quotes. And the one that stood out to me, especially about education, Dr. King said, education must enable one to sift and weigh evidence, to discern the true from the false, the real from the unreal, and the facts from the fiction. Education is important, but to gain knowledge of one's self and your purpose unlocks a different level of education that knows no bounds. So I continue to break barriers as a Black leader in higher education because I continue to evolve my knowledge of myself and my purpose. So, in closing, I will never just reach for the stars, never been in my vocabulary, when I know that there's a whole galaxy at my fingertips. Oh, if you remember anything or take something away from today, listen, break the ceiling, go past the stars, and go explore the entire galaxy because you deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh my gosh,
Welcome.
you spoke some gems, gave me some motivation too.
I mean,
Uh,
Martina started it. I was just trying to, salt and sprinkle a little extra on it.
yeah, y'all both have me feeling like I can conquer the world after this. But do we have any questions for Felicia? Hold on, they're flooding the chat. Any questions? Are you looking for a mentee?
I will take one. Yes. If you need one, I'm not gonna tell you no, because I might be able to plug you in somewhere else. So yes. Listen, you might mess around and get over with Martika. So you know.
How are you handling DEI initiatives that are being rolled back, and how are you empowering your students?
Woo. Okay, listen. I thank God every day because I work at a private institution. So I pay attention, but I don't really have to worry about the rollbacks from public institutions, but it's something that we talk about all the time in my department because we said, they never know. They might try and come for private schools, but see, the way they're coming for private institutions is through the grant. We take federal money. So that's the hard part. We have finally an Office of Diversity of Equity and Inclusion at the University of Tampa. It's only 3 years old, but I have watched this university grow to the point where it was, okay, we can't do anything. Like, we have to have DE and I at our school. I think I got lost in the question. Look, repeat the question for me.
And how are you empowering your students?
Oh, that was the second part. How do I empower my students? Because, or how I do it is I talk to them as a person. You're not just a number to me. You are a person. You are a human being. You have feelings, and you need to know that you have someone here that can advocate for you, that can teach you. Yes, I've been in corporate places. I grew up as a military brat, and I have been in places where people pretty much was like, "You're not supposed to be here." Well, you know what? I'm already here, so you're gonna have to take me, and you don't have to like it, but guess what? I'm here because my previous management job was at a tech company. Ooh, when I tell you there are people that their demons and their spirit gets uncomfortable when you come into the room and you know who you are and you're like, oh yeah, I'm educated. I got a piece of paper. And what? And then they really feel some kind of way when your degree is higher than their degree or you have more experience than they do. And then as much as you want to pop off, because I promise you there are plenty of times I've wanted to pop off, you have to know, as my pastor told me, you got to play the game like them, but you got to play it better. You have to pick your battles and know at the end of the day, as long as you keep evolving and knowing who you are and staying authentic to yourself, they can't beat you at their own game. Never forget who you are and where you come from. And that is what I tell my students all the time. Don't forget who you are and where you come from. Be you, because they can't take it from
What advice would you give for someone who wants to become a professor?
you. Okay. Buckle up, Buttercup, because it's easy for me and I make it look easy because my background is management. Being a professor is knowing how to, I'm not going to say corral cats, even though sometimes that's what you have in your classroom. You have to be able to manage people, meaning you have to know how to navigate different personalities. And you have to have not just a level. Your level needs to be a little bit higher when it comes to emotional intelligence. You have to be able to read a room. If that's not something that you are good at, you definitely need to practice because you're constantly reading the room because it's not just one person. You can have 20 people, you can have 40 people in the room, and then you have to know how to regulate your own emotions to be like, oh, I'm here at work. I came to do a job. This is what I'm going to do. I literally in the middle of a lesson will say, oh, do you need to have that conversation up here with the whole class or do you need to go outside? Oh, my bad. Somebody will answer the phone. I'm sorry. You want to go ahead and put them on speakerphone so we all can take the phone call? Oh, you have to know how to professionally put people in their place so you can keep your job. And being a professor, from a student to a professor, you get to learn the political side that they don't ever talk about. And again, even though it's higher education, you still have people that treat higher education like it's corporate and they want to play the corporate game and okay, we should do this and not do this. And they try and they give you the classes that don't think that you'll excel in, like, oh, those are the run classes. She can't do anything with those people. And then get mad when everybody starts to excel. Well, what is you doing in there? Being authentic and telling my students to be authentic. Don't think you're going to give me a bag of rice or some flour and don't think I'm about to make a whole meal out of it and you don't know how I did it. Oh, because I did. Now be mad at that. That's the, like, again, like Martika, she was dropping them gems. You have to, it's not arrogance, it's confidence. And you have to walk with your head high and be confident as a professor.
What do you what do you do specifically to show up as your authentic self with confidence and even when there are so many odds against it, like the media, politics, coworkers, etc.?
We're gonna go back to Martika. Listen, don't pay attention to that. You can't, you have to have tunnel vision and you can't pay attention to the noise. Listen, I'm coming to work with my hair done. If I don't feel like doing my hair, listen, I'm gonna put a wrap on in a heartbeat. I'm still going to wear my earrings. I can't wash this off. You gonna see me. I'm not coming in now. Don't get it twisted. Now I do like going to the Gap because they got the bomb sweaters, like jackets and stuff. But I'm not coming in here in no khakis and a little button up. No, ma'am. I'm coming in here with my Black Women Are Proud t-shirts or sweaters. I'm coming in my comfortable jeans and I'm coming in sneakers because this is who I am. I don't have to come to work in dresses and flats. No, listen, you got hit and pack. You got one set of feet. I'm not about to be up in here in heels all day with my feet hurt. I'm gonna put on these Nikes because this is who I am. What I have on doesn't change how I treat. I treat my students like people because that's what they are. I treat my colleagues like people. What you see now is what I give in the classroom. I know how to code switch. Please believe I do know how to code switch, but not in my everyday element. No, this is me and this is who you're gonna get. Yes, I say sinner and all kinds of things, but I'm still educated. Like my best friend told me, I'm trying to get on her level. Don't let this PhD fool you. Maybe I can get down to GED level in a heartbeat. So this, this is me. And either you're gonna like it or not. But guess what? I don't follow you and I know who I am and whose I am. So baby, walk with your head high.
I have two more questions before we move on, because it is time sensitive. But one is, what's your advice on how non-Black people can hold space or be an ally for the Black community?
You gotta do you gotta do some work. You need to not ask questions that you can go Google and get answers for yourself. That you should start. You It's like we have to educate ourselves to know how to navigate spaces of people that are not Black or not, of color. Then that whole reciprocity thing that people keep talking about all the time. Listen, we have to educate, then you have to educate yourself. It's okay to ask questions, but it's better to have done some work and say, hey, I'm trying to be better, ally, what can I say? What can I do? And I research. Now you lead with that. Most, I'm not gonna say all, most will be more apt to talk to you than if you just start asking questions out the gate. And then in our mind, maybe you could have Googled. You could have went to the library for that. But the biggest thing, and I don't want to say it's an outcry, but the biggest thing is you need to talk to people that look like you and tell them you have to do better. It's not upon, and I'm talking about Black women. It's not a Black woman's job to teach us what we need. You need to talk about that to people in your family because you have someone in your family, and you need to do the work yourself to be a better ally. Okay,
Thanks.
you said you had one more?
Yes, one more.
Okay,
And then all the
I'm ready.
others we can do at the end or else email it to you so you guys can answer back to them, for time purposes. But the
Okay.
last one is, how do you motivate or help others understand nonlinear paths are okay and not to beat themselves up for it?
Okay, see, I want to say Martika said this earlier too, because again, she was just dropping the gems earlier. Your path is your path. Comparison is a thief of joy. And I like joy. So I'm not going to compare my path to somebody else's path. Listen, I'm going to be 42 years old next week, and some of my colleagues have had their doctorate degree for some years now. And for a minute, I was like, why didn't I just go and get my master's and then get my doctorate? And I would have been able to be teaching 15 something years, 20 years like they are. And I had to stop and say, that wasn't your path. That wasn't your path. First of all, you didn't even know you was gonna be on this path. That wasn't your way to get to where you are. Sometimes you have to go through some things to realize, oh no, this is my purpose. This is where I'm supposed to be. And you have to, a lot of people say motivation. Motivation is great. That's your jump start. What's the discipline that's gonna keep you going? You have to have discipline. You have to want it. You have to want to eat, breathe, and sleep, reaching your goal in your purpose. Because I empower and encourage my students on purpose with purpose. Because there's greatness in everybody. Sometimes you just need that one professor or that one mentor, that person to tap into it and say, come on, you're better than this. Don't worry about my path. If you want to do what I do, let's carve out what your path is going to look like. Because sometimes it's, I want to get to where that person is, but do you really want to walk in the shoes that they walked to get to where they got? That's the flip side. Think about that. I don't want to walk in nobody else's shoes. Listen, I don't know if your feet smell like pickles or you got bunions. I don't want to be in your shoes. I want to stay on my own path. Mm-hmm. That's all I got.
Thank you. I know we
You're
have more questions.
welcome.
I have a note of it. I will save them to the end, or I'll be able to email it if we don't get to it at the end. But thank you so much. Can we give a round of applause for Felicia? Very charismatic. I love it. So many gems, but made us laugh at the same time. We'll be moving on with Gabby on breaking barriers, pioneering paths in the underrepresented tech industry.
Hi, everyone. A lot of tough acts to follow here. Okay. Pickles took me out. If you guys saw me laughing, leave me alone. That was good. That was a good line. Um, so hi, everyone. My name is Gabrielle Brown. You can call me Gabby. I'm going to share my screen. For a techie person, my marketing department holds my hand like a toddler when it comes to my presentations. So shout out to Jess for helping me do this because I'm obsessed with you and you're amazing. So I'm going to share my screen, if that's okay, Kimmy, and get this little presentation shimmied up for you guys. Okay. Get stressed and they have to hold my hand. Can you guys see this right now? You know what? Then we're going to jive with it. It's
Yes,
fine.
we can see it.
Beautiful. All right, so good afternoon, everyone. Like I said, my name is Gabby Brown, and I am the CEO and founder of Coloranti. We are a human-focused cybersecurity startup. And so today I'm eager to share about our team values surrounding, of course, important things like data integrity and authenticity, transparency, communication, all the good stuff. But I also want to honor our roots, right? So none of these opportunities would have been afforded to me if not for the Black creatives, the inventors, the intelligent people, the educators that have laid the brick by brick every single day, every single year, 4 years to build the community and space that I now have to say, I want to be a creative. I want to do these things, right? None of this would have been possible. So it's a major thank you to everyone that came before me, especially my family, my community. I'm also from a mixed family, go Jamaicans, all the West Indies in the chat, please. Shout out to y'all. Um, I totally understand in that capacity what a beautiful world and community we have and we live in to appreciate such a blend. From the opposite side, I actually am from a small farm town in Massachusetts. So there was 5 Black kids and they kept us separated. Yeah, if you get the vibes. So growing up, there was nobody that looked like me. There was no models that looked like me and could take the time out to educate me and be around me, right? And so it's very important to me now that I'm able to give back in those really positive ways. And one of those things that really connected me back to my roots was my sorority, Sigma Lambda Gamma. Shout out to all the Gammas here today. I love you. I love my sisters. Thank you, all of you, our founders and our people, for holding space, sharing space, and being fantastic sisters. So I'm gonna share a little bit about my team today. At any point you can't see this, let me know. Um, 3 people that really make the most impact on Team Coloranti because we have a kaleidoscope of characters on our team. We love big personalities and we have an amazing team. But truly, I wanted to highlight for this Black History Month 2 women of color, especially to the right. We have Sam on my right and my left, my chief marketing officer, Jessica, who contribute in ways that I feel make my Black excellence as a leader. I couldn't do this without them. They truly back this idea, help it come to life, and exemplify every day why we do what we do. On Team Coloranti, we have these 2 members that I mentioned, but I also want to acknowledge the interns, the quality officers, the advisors. As Martika mentioned, as Felicia mentioned, your network, these people want to see you win. These people want you to be a part of the progress. They want to pull you up. And Jess and Sam and the other members of our team ensure that it doesn't matter the socioeconomic background, the education, the ethnicity. When it comes to Team Coloranti, color is power. Color is power. And in this case, it's Black. But in really, in general, for a team whose entire structure of cybersecurity surrounds color, we genuinely appreciate the power behind it and how important it is to really acknowledge how it all connects. In my childhood, I was obsessed with being a creative. I loved it. I got in trouble in a Caribbean household for painting the concrete floor teal. Moment of silence for my 6-year-old self. My Jamaican father was not happy. But it's okay. It's okay. One of those things, honestly, that it shapes you because, yes, of course, they were not thrilled and there was discipline, but there was not a lack of support for my creativity. My parents said, let's not repeat this on the floor. Hey, let's stop, right? But they didn't say, we're not going to use the color teal again. Here's more colors to work with. Here's more things to explore. They didn't shut down my creativity. They didn't look at me and say, you need to do the straight and narrow. You need to be an engineer. You need to be a doctor. You need to be where you often hear with immigrant parents, they have the best intentions, but they want you to live the straight and narrow. They want you to do the 9 to 5, the stability, because they made a sacrifice for you to be here, right? And you want to appreciate their sacrifice and show respect for their sacrifice, but you also want to be your own person. As Martika said, with the importance of her grandfather, and he was an inspiration, right? But you also want to bring that inspiration and combine it with your own dreams. And so in my case, Coloranti is that dream. As I mentioned, we are a human-focused cybersecurity company, so let's really just break that down. In undergrad, I met my wonderful team at the University of Tampa. I was also in the entrepreneurship program. I have an entrepreneurship degree where I met Jessica and Sam. I was a part of the incubation programs as well, but I came up with this idea to essentially create a universal color encryption language. Because at the end of the day, when most people hear cybersecurity, they hear panic. They hear, I'm going to lose my credit card. If I lose my phone, I don't want to get on the phone with IT because they're going to yell at me. They're going to call me stupid and say, why did you lose this? Why did you do this? Right? And you feel helpless. You, as a regular person, just a girl who just wants to enjoy her time with technology, shop around on Amazon, maybe go to a concert, maybe see some family, things are going to happen in life, but you're not educated or informed on what's really happening with my information, what's really so important about my data. And so a lot of the time, there is shame. There is shame to the consumers and the people that use this technology for not being educated enough, not being technical enough, just really not being enough. And you see that as well, though, in communities of color, where education may have not been as accessible, especially when it comes to STEM. right? And so I decided when I came to UT, I wanted to make an impact. I wanted to give back, of course, to my family and my community that pushed me here, allowed me to be here, inspired me to grow. But at the same time, I wanted a challenge. And so while at UT, my first idea that I wanted to do was create these exercise leggings because that was the thing in 2020. Everyone was in these fabulous leggings, and I wanted to be a legging girl. But I stumbled into cybersecurity completely by accident. Like I said, I wanted the challenge, but I couldn't stop creating. I loved color, I loved music, I loved anything where I could connect two opposites, right? And I think it's fundamental to my personality since I am mixed. From my inception, it is two opposites, two opposite colors. So I love tying things back to my roots in that way. Um, and I stumbled into cybersecurity completely on accident, like I said, with the challenge of it all, but in real life direct applications. I don't know if you guys have ever had to help your parents boot up a website. They get stranded. You can only do it so many times. I love you. I need to take a moment, right? And so there's only so many times I can help my dad with the screen before I'm going to lose it. And I think part of that became a light bulb moment when I probably my junior year of college. Only after a break, there's only so many times you can do it, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, there's so much potential with this technology, so much education, so many positive things you can do, but nobody knows what's going on, right? And that's a fleeting thought at that time. I'm young, I'm 20, I'm getting ready, 2021, I'm getting ready to go to Spain for an internship. And I'm super excited because it's Spain. Come on. Um, but I'm also letting that fleeting thought pass by of, I wish this was easier. I wish more people understood what was going on and this wasn't as stressful. And so when I went to Spain, and I was super blessed and lucky that due to my network, as Martika highlighted, as Felicia highlighted the importance of that, I was able to land a um, position in a startup company for the summer. A female-led, female-owned design startup where I was running operations for her in Spain as a founding member. Um, One of my favorite parts of that entire experience was I got to be in her first videography promo shoot. So she did a lot of work with like large Spanish brands, and she asked me to be the focal point, which I'm rather awkward and goofy. So I got to be in this beautiful yellow dress with my curls out and highlighting all the different colors around me of this design startup while nobody spoke English. So it's me, my medium amount of Spanish, and our videographer who only speaks Spanish and Russian, right? So there's a little panic, a little bit of panic in the room. Somehow we pull together this beautiful video. We make it flow, we make it work. And I just remember the previous thoughts that I'd had when I was in the US of my dad can't connect to this technology yet, and we speak the same language yet. I'm in a room with people, nobody's speaking my native language, and we're all connecting and flowing through color, music, and hand gestures, interpretations. We don't even need to be speaking the same language. So if we're doing this internationally, how come we can't do this domestically? How are we flowing and communicating through this universal language of just being human and using color and flow, but I can't even do it in my own home language? And so this idea kind of created from my mind in Coloranti to connect the two. Why not create a universal language for a complex problem that everyone's facing in this modern world with a modality everyone understands? Technology, no, excuse me, not technology. Color is transferable cross-culturally. Color is something that you can communicate even if someone has a visual or hearing disability or some other way. It's communicable, right? And it kind of light bulbed for me that I wanted to be someone that could make that change, whether that was small and a small, silly little app for my parents to stop stressing me out with simple security concerns, or something big. I'm a big dreamer. I wanted the impact of what I was going to do to be meaningful and have long-term benefit overall. And so I've created Coloranti, which is this universal encryption algorithm that basically, as I mentioned, uses color to communicate. And when I say communicate, I don't mean we're going back and forth and translating from English to Spanish or Spanish to Mandarin. I mean that when it comes to protecting your information, your credit cards, your passwords. I know we all have a note somewhere in our notes app that says all the passwords. Please stop doing that. Don't do that anymore. um, but I wanted to create a space and create an idea where people would be informed. It's power to the people. At the end of the day, I think that's a fundamental of being Black, is you want power to the people. You want power to your community. You want educated people that are informed and have the right to choose what they want to do. With the power of technology, we all have that ability now, but we don't all have that education of really what we're working with. And so I wanted to create a system that allows the protection of your information so you have the fluidity to do what you want to do. You have the fluidity to explore Spain and explore design options on all these things without worrying about, oh my gosh, all my information's now on the dark web and I'm scared. You shouldn't live in fear in the modern world just because the protections that are supposed to be allotted to you, you're not properly informed. You don't know truly what's going on. So I'm going to shimmy through a little bit more um, on this slide. The next one. I'm a little bit nervous presenter, you guys. Sorry. Usually my team and I present as a whole, so I'm very nervous being by myself. You should see a giant disco ball with a nice lady of color in this little stock image. And so I kind of wanted to explain more of how it is and what we do. So, as I mentioned, while the rest of the world encrypts in text and numbers and all the scary things, we use color. So, this encryption algorithm that we've uniquely crafted is essentially a competitive advantage because we've taken away this total reliance, right, on numbers and all these scary things and all these technical concepts that scare people. We wanted to bring back familiarity. We wanted to bring back something that's been innate to you since childhood. You've known color. You've had a favorite color since you were 6. You can't tell me you haven't, right? It's been there, it's been familiar. And even if it's changed, you've been loyal in some shade. We wanted to bring back the humanity of technology because the way that it's moving, you're not being considered anymore. You're not being protected anymore. Your data is being considered, your data is being protected. But what about you, the person? Why are you not as important as your information? And so with our algorithm, we aim to change that. We use color because it's familiar, it's easy, it's cross-cultural, but also because it's human. You know your favorite shade, right? You've had it since you were 6. There's probably a story attached to it. You, your grandparent, your mom, your dad. My mom's favorite color is pink. Why do I know it's pink? Because she's been obsessed with it since junior high and she's felt so girly and all the wonderful things, right? It has a story attached. So for us, we really wanted to humanize technology and cybersecurity from the path and the vision it's usually pushed towards, which is male dominant, exclusive, and unwelcoming. If you're not to a certain level, you can't sit with us. We don't want that to be the case. We want it to be welcoming. We want it to be informational. We want it to be open, right? So at the fundamentals of Coloranti, it's a human-focused cybersecurity company because you are a focus. The modality is color. The protections are the same in a lot of ways, but in the grand scheme of things, where other companies don't consider you the prize, we do. We see you. First and foremost, you're a human. First and foremost, we're going to treat you like one with integrity, with authenticity, and then we're going to move about protecting your data. Because at the end of the day, there's no like purpose, without you. So I'm really nervous, you guys. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to say is that we want to reshape how this industry looks at people. You're not just a number, you're not just a file, you're a human being, and you should be treated as such. So those are the major parts of the technical side. Any questions so far? While I'm just yapping away. No. Um, so outside of the regular whys and how we go through this journey, there is a point I would say I would like to highlight. And it's when a few months ago, maybe a year ago, Jess and I were doing something. Look, we were doing like a local um, giving back to the community where you do judges for entrepreneurship. Martika, I don't know if you've ever done one of these, but when the high school kids in the local Tampa Bay area and they do their little entrepreneurship, like middle school things, if you guys have ever had the opportunity to judge middle school events, elementary school, the kids love it. Please, 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 if you're going to give back, that is one of the best ways to do it. And Jess and I went to one of these events. We were judging and helping. And I think our mentor for this group is someone named Bert Seither. He's part of the entrepreneurship at the University of Tampa. If you don't know him, you should absolutely meet him. Um, and he asked us, came up to us and said, listen, do you guys mind speaking to the kids? And we were like, what? You want us to do what? And he said, listen, the kids need some inspiration. They have questions. Do you mind just going up on stage and speaking to the kids? And as you can see, I'm very nervous and very shy. And so we went to these kids and we just poured our hearts out. Honestly, we were honest about our journey, our experiences of growing up, and not a lot of people look like you. Not a lot of people are going to do what you want to do. But one thing I never heard when I said I wanted to dream big was no. No one's going to sit there to your face and tell you you can't do something when you're putting the work in and showing up and doing it every day. I say crazy things all the time. I do crazy things all the time. I remember when I brought this idea to my professors in the entrepreneurship department and said, I want to build a color-based encryption algorithm. And one of my favorite professors to this day called me a unicorn. And he said, it's never going to work. And then we built it and we brought it to the New Venture Expo and made it to the finals. Something we've never done, something I've never accomplished for a unicorn. So when someone sits there and tells you you can't do something or that you're not made to do something, I feel like the best thing that you can do is take a look around and look for your rejection letter because it's not there. It's not sitting on my counter. I've never seen one unless it's in my email from LinkedIn. But in the grand scheme of things is what I'm trying to say because I'm rambling and nervous, is that if you have a dream and you're going to pursue it, people are going to call you everything under the sun. Especially if you're a Black woman, it's going to double to triple down. But at the other, end of things, my favorite thing about being Black is how loud you can be without speaking because your presence is just that high. And when you have the work ethic to match it, you're unstoppable. I'm unstoppable right now. Are you kidding me? Because who's sit on this panel and tell me no? Be serious. It's one of those things of I get it. I'm nervous. I'm rambling because I am so nervous and I'm used to having my team. But when Kimmy asked me to be here and I saw the lineup, and especially because Martika, I'm gonna highlight you real quick, is because when I was 19, 20, joining the entrepreneurship, I messaged you one time, super nervous, freaking out. You probably didn't see it because you were being a queen out there. And I remember thinking through the entire process in undergrad, this is someone I want to be like. This is someone I want to be around. And now I get to be on a panel with someone I've looked up to through most of my undergrad, right? And then when I got to speak and give back to those community kids, the sweetest little boy comes running up to me. He's like 12. And he's like, can I work for you? And I go, when you turn 18, let's have a conversation. I am not participating in child labor, but absolutely. Right. And it's a full circle moment. That little boy wanted to be me. I wanted to be Martika when I was an undergrad, and now I get to be on a panel with her. Maybe that little boy will work with me one day. It's full circle for someone that didn't have anyone that looked like them growing up, no role models, nobody but me and my concrete floor with teal paint on it. It's full circle. No one's going to sit there and tell you no unless there's like a big fat X on your forehead or a rejection letter. Even then, there's another spot for you, right? It's one of those things where you need to just take a look around and say, okay, but if I dip my foot in and I, tap the water, who's truly going to tell me no? It's your spot, it's your life, it's your space. So that's my little yap. I didn't get to the rest of my slides because I got too nervous and I'm a yapper, but I hope you guys understand what I mean. Yeah.
Thank you. You did a great job.
Thank
It's
you.
crazy how you guys are all connected and somehow, and I did not realize
Right.
this until like yesterday, and I was like, wait, it's really weird. That's kind of cool, but I like the full circle. I know you guys have questions. You can drop them in the chat, and we'll answer them at the end, just for the sake of time. I promise we'll answer them at the end, or if not, we're gonna send out an email. But we would like to pass it on first. Give a round of applause to Gabby. And
Thank you.
then we would
Thank you.
like to
Thank you
pass
for
it
being here.
on to Felicia A., who will be talking about resilient leadership, navigating challenges in the workplace.
Just share my screen with you. Can everyone see that? Beautiful.
Yes.
Well, good morning or afternoon. Thank you for having me and thank you for joining us today. I want to begin by saying that leadership isn't just about having the right skills. It's about resilience. It's about navigating power, pushing through barriers, and driving change, all while finding ways to sustain yourself along the journey. And let's be real, leadership doesn't look the same for everyone. If you're a woman, if you're Black, or if you exist at the intersections of multiple marginalized identities, the experience of leadership is fundamentally different. You're not just leading, you're constantly proving, adapting, and carrying the weight of representation. This isn't something we can simply step away from. It's woven to every interaction and decision we make. And today, I'm honored to share with you some reflections from my journey, a journey that began when I was inducted into Sigma Lambda Gamma 20 years ago. As a Black Gamma, I learned early on that this organization isn't about the letters we wear. It's about accepting a profound responsibility to lead and represent. And as I sit here now, decades later, those lessons continue to shape my career, my leadership style, and my vision for a more equitable future. As a proud Black Gamma, when I think back to my early days as a Gamma, I remember the exhilaration of being a part of a community that valued authenticity, service, and leadership. I also remember the weight of knowing that my presence carried significance, extra significance at that. As a Black Gamma, I was stepping into a role where I would be one of the first faces of my organization that many people saw. I was, in many ways, an ambassador for all who came before me and those who would follow. Being a Gamma meant that every decision I made and every challenge I faced was seen through a dual lens, my personal ambition and a broader narrative of representation. I had to prove that I belonged not just to the sorority, but to every room I entered. I quickly learned that my successes were not just my own, they were a testament to the power of our sisterhood and the potential we all carry. This identity has been both a source of pride and a catalyst for resilience I've developed. It's a reminder that leadership is about more than titles or accolades. It's about the responsibility to pave the way for others who share your background and experiences. Now let's talk about the unique pressures that we face as women of color. From the boardroom to community meetings, we're often expected to be the epitome of strength. We're expected to be unshakable, the ones who hold everything together, even when everything around us is falling apart. This expectation is more than just a challenge, it's a double-edged sword. On one hand, it propels us to strive for excellence and to be trailblazers in our fields, and on the other, it forces us to internalize an endless cycle of proving ourselves, often without the same level of support and recognition that our counterparts receive. For instance, when I step into leadership roles, I was expected to mentor, to nurture, and to uplift, regardless of whether I had the resources or support systems in place. I quickly discovered that if I showed any sign of frustration or vulnerability, I risked being labeled as angry or difficult. There was a narrow window in which I had to operate, be passionate and driven without crossing the invisible line of what was deemed acceptable. This balancing act where resilience is demanded without allowing for any visible cracks is incredibly taxing. The expectation to always be on, to never falter, is not just unrealistic, and it comes at a significant personal cost to this day. Let's face it. Oh, there we go. Let's face it. The cost of constantly proving yourself is steep. For many of us, especially women of color in leadership, the unspoken rule is you have to be twice as good to get half as far. This isn't just a statement, it's a lived reality. Every day, we walk into spaces where our competence, our ideas, and even our very presence are scrutinized more closely than others. The pressure to be consistently distinct, composed, and unshakable doesn't just lead to burnout, it breeds self-doubt and exhaustion. Every misstep feels magnified, every challenge heavier. I recall countless moments where, despite my best efforts, the cost of maintaining this facade of perfection weighed me down. It's not only emotionally draining, it's also unsustainable in the long run. Leadership, in its truest form, should be about inspiring others and driving change, not about sacrificing our well-being or continuously having to validate our worth. The relentless need to prove that we belong, that we can lead, can leave us questioning our abilities and our identity. Yet, it is precisely this pressure that forces us to re-examine what true leadership should look like. It should be less about self-sacrifice and more about creating space where we and those who come after us can strive without having to constantly pay the price of perfection. So given these challenges, how do we lead in a way that truly allows us to thrive? Over the years, I found that adopting certain strategies has been essential in building a leadership that is both resilient and stable. First, building strategic alliances, as we've heard everyone speak on today. One of the most empowering lessons I learned as a Gamma was the importance of community. We don't have to do it alone. Seek out mentors, sponsors, and allies, people who understand the nuances of our experience and will stand by you even when you're not in the room. For me, these relationships in particular have provided not just guidance, but also emotional support necessary to weather storms of leaderships. Next, I've learned that to set boundaries and protect my energy. Not every battle is ours to fight. As the saying goes, not my monkey, not my circus. Learning to set clear boundaries has been crucial for my well-being. It's about recognizing that my emotional and professional labor is finite, and protecting that energy is key to sustaining long-term impact. Learning the politics of power, and we heard Felicia allude to this earlier, and understanding how decisions are made and who holds influence in any system is a vital skill. Whether in the boardroom or across college campuses, knowing how to strategically position your ideas can make all the difference. It's not about playing into politics in a negative sense. It's about understanding how things work and being informed and proactive in shaping conversations that matter. Normalize rest as resistance. In a culture that often equates resilience with relentless hustle, rest can be a radical act. I've learned that stepping back is not a sign of weakness. It's a necessary part of maintaining my strength for the long haul. Embracing rest and recovery is about valuing my well-being as much as my achievements. Changing the narrative around leadership. Finally, we must redefine what leadership means. We're not here to conform to outdated models that demand self-sacrifice. Instead, we're here to build new paradigms, one where leadership is measured not by how much we endure, but how much we empower those around us and create lasting change. As I reflect on my journey, I see how these lessons have been both my anchor and my catalyst. The challenges I faced taught me that leadership is not about perfection, it's about persistence, authenticity, and the courage to be vulnerable. The future of leadership cannot be about exhaustion or an endless need to prove ourselves. It has to be about longevity and collective empowerment. We need to shift from individual success to collective strength, from striving within rigid systems to actively redefining them, and from viewing resilience as simply overcoming struggles to understanding it as a means of sustainability. I'll say that again. Resilience as not as simply overcoming struggles, but understanding it as a means of sustainability. Every step I've taken, every barrier I've broken has been a part of a larger journey, one that not only redefined my own career, but also paved the way for others. The cost of constantly proving ourselves is real, but embracing strategic alliances, setting firm boundaries, and challenging outdated narratives, we can transform that cost into a legacy of empowerment and change. In closing, I want to remind each of you that leadership is a journey that demands both courage and compassion. For those of us who have had to carry the extra weight of representation, the path is never easy, but it is in this very struggle that we find our strength. As a Black woman in leadership, I have seen firsthand the pressures of resilience and the toll of constantly proving my worth. Yet I also sit here today as proof that these challenges can forge leaders who are not only resilient, but also transformative. Let us commit to a future where leadership is defined not only by endless sacrifice, but by the power to uplift, to inspire, and create spaces where everyone can thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. That was amazing. The gems, listen, it's been nonstop gems all day long. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I know I'm gonna have a notebook full of these gems by the end of the day, and I'm gonna use this every day as affirmations. But thank you so much. I know you guys have questions, but like I said, we're gonna save them to the end just for the sake of time. Thank you, thank you. Let's give her a round of applause because that was amazing. I like the little pops of gamma in there too. And let's pass it on to Dr. Jakia.
All right, everybody. So thank you very much. We're gonna start off since it's Black History Month with some libations. I don't know if y'all came on early. I asked if anybody was doing libations, and no one was. So naturally, I am. For those who don't, thanks, Felicia. Stay ready, okay? Stay ready. She ain't got to get ready. So, the thing about libations is I know people are actually familiar with the concept of like pouring drinks in remembrance of. That is not uncommon. That's not an uncommon thing, but the way that we do it may not necessarily be it may not be the same across cultures or across regions, across geographical locations. So geographic locations. So I'm going to do a more West African form of libations. So I mean, obviously we won't be able to hear you all, but the word that we will use is ashe. It is spelled ASE, but it's pronounced ashe, like ASHY almost. All right. So it means like, so be it. It is so. For my church folks, it's like amen, right? Like similar concept, right? Like we are agreeing. So the idea of libations is that we are remembering the past. So if you've seen people like, this is for my homies, and they pour something out, libations. That's it right there. So in this, as we respect Black History Month, as we respect the past and look at the present and look into the future, we're going to pour some libations. So I have water, and then I have my aloe plant that you see my son Trey loves to take off the tips and cover up his scars. He had a burn, and my plant was harassed that week. So we're gonna use the plant. And y'all look, we got little newbies coming in for all my plant people who get excited about those things. All right. So when it comes to libations, it's a very quick ceremony. And I'll just say a few words, and at the end of that sentence, you all will then say ashe. Okay. So how we'll start off is so first, we would like to pour libations and give thanks to our creator of the earth, the creator of all beings. Okay, so everybody say Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. All right. Next, we would like to pour libations for our ancestors across the world, and our ancestors from Africa, where civilization was created. Ashe. We would like to pour libations for our ancestors that went through, and some survived and some did not, the Middle Passage. Ashe. We would like to pour libations for our ancestors that persevered and that fought through the African Holocaust, the multiple Holocausts across the continent, and the African Holocaust that transpired across the Americas. Ashe. We would like to pour libations for our personal ancestors. So right now, I would like for you all to name out your beloved that may have transitioned. So whether it be a grandparent or great grandparent, someone that meant something that had an impact in your life, if you could say their name. So I will say for my grandma, Josie. Ashe. We would like to pour libations for our living legends right now, those who lead us today, those whose shadows we follow and we walk in, who we seek guidance from, and who help to impart wisdom in us as we grow and hope to make them proud one day. Ashe. And we pour libations for the future in hopes that one day we will able to become ancestors and continue the legacy of greatness. Ashe. Oh, all right. So very, very quick, but it's nice to do things with intention. So taking that time just to intentionally remember those who came before us, but also to remember those who are still here with us, that we don't always give attention to. So thank you all for taking that time with us. And I'm going to present on global Blackness and Black empowerment. Okay, y'all. So I'm Jakia. I crossed Spring 13. We the realist. I'm a Crown Alpha chapter. I'm also a member of the National Board of Directors, and I am currently the chair of the Identity and Culture Committee of MBOD. I am an assistant professor at Grand Valley State University in Allendale, Michigan, and I think that's enough about me. So first of all, I just want us to think about what Blackness is. And we don't really have enough time. I wanted us to kind of like think about this and write it in the chat. But a lot of times when we think about Blackness, we oftentimes have a very I would say small, confined ideology or idea of what it means to be Black or what Blackness means. So just take a few moments and reflect on what Blackness means to you, what you have heard and what that means. And although I am a scholar in Black studies and people argue this all the time, my personal opinion is there is no one definition of Blackness because we all experience the world in different ways. But at the end of the day, we all are impacted by African cultures, and that is what I like us to focus on. So when we look at it, we all have a shared history, and that shared history is related to the African continent. So particularly for us, with us being in the United States, we have all been impacted by the transatlantic slave trade. This is all of our shared history. The majority of people who were kidnapped and stolen from the African continent went to Brazil and went to Central America. And this means that although you may not have darker skin as far as your phenotype is concerned, does not mean that culturally you are not impacted by West Africa, right? Because while people move, cultures also move, traditions also move. This means music, this means food, this means ideologies, this means various traditions, right? Which means that the the cultures that we have across the world actually have more similarities than differences, because we have this commonality here, which is a lot of West African influence in the things that we do, but we put little twists, little, our own little flair to things, but we have a commonality there. So when we recognize that we have a shared history, this then allows us to better connect to one another and understand how we can work together, again, to empower this idea of Black empowerment with Black communities, whether you are Black or not. So here are some photos, some videos. That's my son on the bottom right. We were actually in Colombia. And for me, I would say that my understanding of like global Blackness obviously came from experiences. I have a very diverse friend group, and obviously being in Gamma totally helps that as well, but also traveling. So at the bottom right, and then if you see Trey, that's my son on the drums, we were in Colombia. And we went to Palenque, which is like a primarily Black area in Colombia, where enslaved Africans escaped slavery and created their own community here. But it was interesting when I went and I saw that they were speaking Bantu, and Bantu is an African language, but this is in Colombia, right? And I was like, oh, okay. Like I knew this, but I didn't know this, and I got to see it and kind of make it real, right? And at the top we had a Gamma's trip, and we were in Ghana. The bottom, I'm in Nigeria. The left, we're in Sao Tome, which is also in Africa. But the idea is that the more we are able to expose ourselves to different cultures, to different communities, the more we are also able to see how connected we are. But beyond that, the more we are actually able to appreciate diverse cultures, diverse ways of thinking, which allows us to connect on a deeper level. So when we talk about empowering different communities, empowering um, our sorority siblings, that can only happen when we accept this invitation to connect. Okay. And that connection can only happen when we open our hearts and we open our minds. So how do we empower Black communities? First, we have to accept the invitation to be in community. Okay. So what does that mean? We're all members of a global society, and we are all influenced by African cultures. So the photo that I showed earlier was specifically looking at the Middle Passage, the transatlantic slave trade. That's the Atlantic side. There were more, right? We can look at East Africa. We can look at Northern Africa. There's a lot. And we know that humans, Homo sapiens, started in Africa, right? So there is no getting away from Africa as it relates to humanity. But we have to be willing to be in community. So until we accept the fact that we are all influenced by African cultures in one way or another, we can never truly celebrate or advocate for Black people or people of African descent. That's just it. Okay. Next, we also need to listen and learn. So African descendants are a diverse group. I mean, Africa is the second largest continent in the world. And then outside of Africa, right, you have folks all over the world, right? So you have a very diverse group with lots of cultures, languages, traditions, and histories. And when we listen to learn, not to react, and also not to deploy a savior complex, you may realize that you have many commonalities and possibly more commonalities than differences. It was actually funny. I remember once one guy posted a bucket, like, yeah, like in the shower, a bucket. And then another guy from another totally complete different part of the world said, wait, what do you know about a bucket? I thought we only did this in this part of the world. And he's like, no, you have to shower with a bucket sometimes, right? And I was like, yeah, I mean, we call that a wash up where I'm from, but so very totally different parts of the world, different words. If I say language, right? Different language, different words being used, but the same concept of this method of bathing, right? But you realize that we have this in common. We are actually raised in very similar ways, but we can only figure that out if we are willing to communicate. So the next thing is that we also have to accept responsibility for our actions. So move beyond yourself and into community. And by that, I mean, no one is perfect and we all make mistakes. And when we fail to take ownership of those mistakes, we are demonstrating our lack of desire to work collaboratively. There are people who say things, who do things that are actually problematic. When you get called out, own it. Own up to it. If you truly want to work as a team, if you truly care about the relationship, if you truly care about cultivating a positive community. And this is how we move forward. We cannot build as a community if we do not make the daily commitment to self-reflection and to doing our best. And this is required for every single person in every single aspect, every single day. This is a part of, I think, our commitment as not only global leaders, but especially our commitment as Gammas. I would say that, like, for me, when I joined the sorority, that was one thing that I was very proud of. And that was one thing that I think that my chapter actually did very well, holding us accountable for. Like, hey, we told you about yourselves. No problem at all. And sometimes had to have very uncomfortable conversations. Like, you know what? It just wasn't cool when you did that. You need to go apologize. Hey, and you need to go own up to that. And that was just something that we did. Because we wanted to have positive working relationships. Whether we agreed on things or not, we needed to be able to work together because we saw the larger picture, right? And I think that Gamma is about the larger picture and about the larger community. So that's how we can start to empower Black communities, is by accepting the invitation to, one, be in community. And being in community means breaking bread. Being in community means spending your dollar here. Being in community means building relationships, being friends. So lastly, this is empowerment in action. One, we can start with our heart, okay? Next, read from diverse perspectives. I specifically said read and did not say follow diverse people on TikTok, because there are lots of false accounts and misinformation on social media. I want you to read a book, y'all. I want you to read a few books. Diverse perspectives. I want you to read from Black folks around the world. I want you to read from Afro-Latinas. I want you to read from people from Angola, people from Zimbabwe, people from Egypt. I want you to read from Black Brits. I want you to read from African Americans. I want you to read from Black Canadians. I want you to read from Haitians. I want you to read from people across the globe to understand different perspectives. There's no one right way to live the world, and there's no one right perspective. Participate in Black African cultural activities and celebrations. If you are on campus, go to the event. How else do you learn? How else do you expose yourself to more if you do not participate? When I was in school, I was at everybody's cultural event. I learned so much. I learned so much and had a blast. Go to all of them. Do it. Don't stay in your comfort zones. Don't stay in your box. Don't only attend what's familiar to you. Okay? This is how we can expand. But again, this is a part of that invitation. It's reaching out, it's putting your hand out as well. Buy Black. That's an easy one. Advocate for Black political liberation. All of our liberation is tied into one, which leads to the last point is to remember Ubuntu, which is a Zulu phrase. It's a Zulu word. It's a part of a phrase, but it means I am because you are. I see myself in you. When you succeed, I succeed. When I succeed, you succeed. When we see ourselves as one, as a part of one community, we are able to go so much further. So when we talk about empowering ourselves, when we talk about empowering different communities, we are actually talking about building together. Okay? So at the end of the day, I want to thank our HQ staff for putting together this panel and bringing our sorority together to have this lovely conversation, this lovely dialogue. And I also appreciate the leadership from Kimmy, Brianna, and everyone else at HQ of showing the direction that our sorority is not headed, but actually going the road that we're on. So I just really want to take this time to thank you all publicly for the work that you all are doing and tell you that I really appreciate you and look forward to a lot of the future. Look forward to the future and beautiful things to come.
No, thank you for your wisdom of knowledge and the gems and also the information you just dropped because there were things that you mentioned I didn't know. Do you teach a class that we can show up to? Because I really like to go. Like seriously though. But thank everybody for also showing up and being here today. I know it was a lot and a lot of information taken in, but we really do appreciate your time as this is also very important. Do we have any questions, any comments for any of our panelists? Anything we'd like to say? Anybody would like to drop a gem? Okay, keep in mind you can also email me any questions and I can point you to their email contact and also answer all those questions for you and send that out to you guys as well. This is recorded, so I will be sending the recording out to you guys as well, and then in the future posting on our YouTube. Wink, wink. And then we have a question about are these slides going to be shared? So not sure if the panelists are going to share their slides, but if they do, I can send that to you as well. Any questions? Anything our panelists have to say to the audience?
Well, I don't have a question. I mean, this is to the panelists, even the audience members. I like guest speakers that look like me in my classrooms. So if you ever would like to, I have a lot of business majors, Martika, Gabby, yes, I like people to look like us. And oh, even Dr. Kia, listen, I can do a Zoom and have you come talk to, yes. So I love people that look like us because I want my students to know that, oh, we do things and we do things big, so. And then even those that, aren't even on the panel, if you want to talk to, college students or whoever asks if I need a mentee, I'll be your mentor and you let me know. That's all I got.
Thank you. And yes, you can contact the speakers. I will send you their emails as well. Can we take a quick picture before the webinar ends? Because, I never remember. You guys are ready? All right, 1, 2. Oh, we're doing sorry. Hold up. Let me get my finger ready. All right, 1, 2, 3. All right, awesome.
Oh,
Thank you guys so much.
jealous. I'm kind of jealous. Everybody on here.
I mean, it's not too late to join.
Oh my God.
We got options.
You do have options.
Yes, I've been over here like I feel a little left out.
You can hit the deuce. What you mean? Oh, Chloe asked, did we need to do anything for attendance?
No, Zoom tracks your attendance automatically, so I can always just go back and look. But thank you for joining, and I really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your day. Make sure to
Thanks for having
get
us.
some self-care. Also eat some food. That's it. I don't have anything for everybody else, but I would like to say thank you guys so much. I greatly appreciate it. I am going to be looking forward to everything you guys are doing, and I'm really serious about if you guys are doing classes. I kind of want to pop in because I want to learn more. But thank you guys so much, and I appreciate it. Brianna, anything to say before we end?
I'm inspired. This has been wonderful. Thank you guys so much for dedicating your time today. We
Mhm.
love you all so much, and we're gonna have to snatch you guys again and do this again, let me tell you. So I just appreciate you all. I'm not gonna get emotional, but this was beautiful, and I think this is what our sorority needed today.
Mhm.
Happy Black History Month,
Happy Black
everyone.
Happy Black History
Yes.
Month. Thank you. Everyone have a good one.